73 degrees.
Is it really?
Yes, sir.
Oh my. We finally hit our winter, man. We got snow and cold and
Saturday low of 39 degrees here.
Is that right? You're gonna have to turn the heat up in the pool.
The hot tub for sure. So what's going on? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, man. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to.
Oh boy. Let me see this new phone of yours.
You haven't seen the new phone?
No. Oh. It's like long and skinny. Oh, that's what happens.
You see that?
Interesting.
I'm about to like something. See?
And that closes it. And then what? That flips around the backside?
Yeah, look. So you can scroll.
Mm-hmm. Very nice.
Or if you just shut it, then it's just.
Oh, I see. So there's two screens essentially.
There's three screens because this is very cool. So hey everyone, we finally got our sponsorship with Droid phones.
There you go.
For all you Apple users, actually I own Apple stock, so stick with your Apple phones. But these Droid phones. So look, Tass, if I want to take a picture, you see this?
Yeah.
If I want to take a picture and I'm taking a picture of you, and I know you like to see yourself. See?
Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
See, so you have three screens.
Interesting.
And then like I said, it folds. Yeah, it's very, very cool. I like it.
Good for you.
Especially now with all the QR codes and menus and stuff.
Oh, the menu's bigger for you.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? We're getting older. The eyes are starting to go. You know what I mean?
I got glasses coming in.
Do you really?
Yep.
Don't
worry. You're right behind me, brother.
Thank you. Hey, Happy New Year, everybody. Happy New Year.
What's happening?
Best wishes to you, Mr. LaMattina, Mr. McGraw, Mr. Sosa, Shelby. Apple is greater than Droid, I think she's trying to say there. Well, let's see your phone do this.
Greater.
All right. And Miss Geely, what happens to the seam down the road, you ask? I don't know. That's why I got the warranty on it. So it doesn't matter to me what happens to the seam. But they tried this a year or so ago and it didn't work well, right? Then they improved it and it works. It's unbelievable. The way the glass can bend, and it works great. So I'm sure in 2 years, Apple will come out with their new iPhone 50 or whatever they're going to do and talk about the state-of-the-art foldable screen. Well, I get hate mail now for all the Apple diehards out there.
Well, that's all right, Matt. It's no different than when we come out with stuff, then everybody follows it 2 years later. So it's fine.
That's right. That's exactly right. So guys, it's 2021. Listen, the first thing I want to open this with, and I talked about it on our CMA meeting on Monday, and I think everybody should take note of this for 2021, because, no more dorking around, right? 2020 was a tough year. And by the way, by the looks of things, 2021's getting off to a perfect start, it seems. But
unbelievable. He just went there.
What where? But here's the thing, in all seriousness, I had a meeting with my guys. I had a big CMA staff meeting for all our licensees all over. And I said, look, especially here in Orlando, I said, we're done with the mode of self-preservation, let's just say, and reaction mode of reacting to the circumstances around us, right? And what I mean by that is in 2020, we didn't have much of a choice but to react to the COVID situation, the lockdowns, the new way of life of what was happening in our world, not just our country, right? And we did everything we can to stay in business and continue to generate revenue and grow and maintain and do well. And we've done that. And we're entering 2021 and we're still in that mode. But we got to change our focus now. And I told them that's it. Now is the time for expansion and growth and a focus again on not just the preservation of our business, right? But dedicating, Adam Parman said this, on the big elite group call yesterday too, but dedicating more time to training our younger staff members and our younger assistants to become phenomenal instructors so we can keep quality high on our floor, expanding to where we can start growing again, giving opportunities to other black belts in our organization that may want to make a career in the martial arts. And just if you want to just grow your individual school, that's perfectly fine too. But we got to switch now. We cannot just stay in reactive mode. We got to get back to proactive mode and start pushing forward for 2021. And we need to get motivated on that. That's a theme here. And I want to give you some bullet points. But before I go over some bullet points for everybody to try to motivate you guys and give the industry a kick in the ass, so to speak, what's your thoughts or focus on 2021, Tass?
Well, probably what I'm going to say is not going to be a surprise to anybody, but I know that if it happened to me, it probably happened to others. So we talk and teach and preach tracking your numbers, which isn't sexy to anybody, but it's no different than driving a car without a dashboard, right? I mean, in 2020, it wasn't fun looking at numbers, and so I stopped looking at them and I stopped tracking them on a regular basis, and like, I'll get to it later. I'll get to it later. I'll get to it later. And then year end came, and that's it. And I put it off long enough. I'm like, I need to know where we were at, so that I know how to get to where we want to go, right? And you and I had the conversation the other day, and whether it's my schools or your schools or anyone's school, I mean, the data's in the numbers. The numbers don't lie. We talk about that, and that's why it's so important to know your numbers and look at your numbers. So for me, I think there's a couple of big things for me as an owner that I need to really work on this year. Number one is I need to take control and ownership of marketing, because, like you said, being out of preservation mode, it's time to grow, and there's no excuses. And whatever we need to do to grow, look, we've preached and teach before where it's not all about new students. And sometimes that gets misunderstood, and it is about students, but a lot of you may have students but don't have the right internal business systems. So we like to fix those internal business systems first to maximize the results from your students. We all need students all the time. And so number one for me is really hitting on marketing this year, and taking control and ownership of that. Number two, and I'll give you an example of that. We started off with an ad on Friday of last week, and I wasn't seeing results by Tuesday. And yesterday we switched gears. So just having my head in the game, not letting stuff continue to run if it's not working, fixing it, changing it, and whatever we need to do. Number two, and really number two and number three, but number two is all about staff development and making sure that we're are you good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Oh, okay, you were looking like you couldn't hear me.
No, I'm looking at the big black patch in the midst of the gray beard, and I'm like, what the hell is that on my face? Yeah, it's just a little black spot. It was a little bit of my youth hanging on.
There you go. There you go. The last piece. But like you said, staff, Ben Parma said, staff development, and really making sure that our team is trained in and they can be we can get them to be the best. We can't shove that down their throat in one day. It's got to be consistent over time, and the needle will start to move. And then lastly, the different kind of numbers is not just tracking your stats specifically, but that's part of it. But in addition to tracking your stats on a daily basis, or me tracking my stats on a daily basis, is also really looking at the P&L on a monthly basis to know where we're at. And I think, we talk a lot about gross revenue in this industry, and which, if you're watching your expense line, your net income is a byproduct of gross, but you need to focus on your monthly P&L. So just getting back in the mindset of, really focus on marketing, focus on the staff development, and then as an owner, taking control of where we're at with the numbers, because we know the numbers don't lie, and just taking ownership, and looking back and saying, hey, I didn't take ownership as good as I could have last year. For whatever reason, it's behind me. We move forward and we move on.
Yeah. And we did talk about that, how if you didn't keep track of your numbers, you would have thought the complete opposite about your schools and your retention. You would have just assumed. It wouldn't even have been a question until you dove into the numbers. So here's the other way,
just so everybody knows that, opposite as far as schools. We had a school that had a 3.1% attrition rate, right? Which is phenomenal. And I would have never for the year. I would have never guessed they were there. I would have thought they were at 6, 7, 8%. So that was the silver lining, right? But there's some other things that obviously need to work. So it's important to understand that.
Right. And the numbers will tell you. And that's the thing. I mean, it's about swallowing your pride, because the numbers will just tell you the truth. Like you were saying earlier about the election and the numbers telling the truth.
Yeah.
Tass.
Right. Exactly.
The numbers. Oh my God, we're being stormed.
Careful, we won't get our social media accounts yanked.
I guess a complete disaster and mess that was. But anyway, and very sad. But here's the thing. Here's the other thing. As we do this show, Tass, and we're into 2021 now, and I'm looking at some of the names on here and some of the people listening, right? Hey, first of all, understand that you are in the top 1% of the industry here. The fact that you're even trying to learn from us or hoping you pick something up that might be able to help you. But this is very important to recognize as well. And I said this in my own, like I said, the CMA meeting, that make sure you're not just an information junkie. Make sure that you're just not on every single Don't fool yourself thinking like, hey, I work my ass off and I'm doing more than anyone in the industry. I'm on every single webinar and podcast, and I read every book, and I'm at every seminar, and you can't implement everything. You cannot. And sometimes you're so focused on getting the information that you don't have enough focus on the execution of the information. And I think you guys need to assess that yourselves. And if you watch our show, and we have some poor humor, obviously, and we like to keep it light, we keep it fun, but we will always bring something hopefully that can help. But if we bring more than one, or you watch this every single week, if you hear something that you like or thinks it's a good idea, don't get inspired in the moment. Write it down, and when we get off this, get your team together or yourself and say, I'm going to start doing this now. I want to do this. And then next week, you hear something else, and then you forgot the thing that you were really wanting to work on last week. And now you're going to try to implement something new. Execute and implement something 100% and commit to it 100%. And what I said to our CMA team is, if you could just implement one system a month, just one, by the end of the year, you're going to have 12 new systems that you're doing in your school. And a system is something that you're doing without thought. It's just part of your routine, as much as it is walking into your school and turning the lights on, right? It doesn't take extra effort when it's a system. It's just part of a routine. And if you can give your business and implement 12 new systems over the course of a year, that's going to make an exponential impact on your bottom line and on your overall business. And you got to understand this too. When we talk about the overall business, it's not just the dollars and cents, right? It's not just about recruiting new students. It's not just about retaining students and the revenue of your business. But under that retention column, you have to understand your overall business. If you see something on here and you get an instructor tip, let's say, and you want to implement it on your floor, focus on the one thing you want to implement and get it implemented and make it a routine, because it's also about the quality of whatever art you're teaching or whatever service you're providing, right? It's all about quality. And if you have a high quality service or product, automatically your retention is going to become better, right? for the, the fact that Tass at his one location had a 3.1 or 4?
3.1, yeah.
3.1% attrition last year is incredible. And for those of you who are thinking, well, that can't be possible, what was the attrition at the other school?
Yeah, which the other attrition at the other school was 8%, guys. So yeah, it is possible.
There you go. More than double. So we do know how to calculate attrition, everybody. I mean, a 3.1 during COVID, an average of only losing 3.1% of your student base on a monthly average is phenomenal during any year. I mean, it's a perfect retention rate, perfect. 8%, which, by the way, unless you really know how to calculate your attrition, you don't know. But if you're trying to run a school with an 8% attrition rate, you're going to be spinning your wheels, and you're never going to get far. It's going to be very, very, very difficult to grow your school. And unless you really know your numbers, you're not going to know why it's so difficult for you. And what you're going to do is you're going to do what most of the industry does, and you're going to say, I need more students. I need more students. We've been hovering at 100 students forever. I've been hovering at 120 forever. I've been hovering at 200 forever. I've been hovering at 70 forever. Whatever that number is, you're going to focus on that and say, I need more students. But the real answer is you may need to just keep more students. And you really won't recognize that. And you may sit there and say, we keep our students. I got students who've been with me forever, but you're forgetting you're human. You just don't remember all the people that have tried you and quit, or came in and quit, or came in and moved, or came in and left. And so you got to recognize where your holes are in your business, and you got to plug them. But you can't plug them by trying to implement everything you hear and just being an information junkie, right? And fooling yourself that that's the way I'm going to get ahead and be successful. You're going to do it by taking one thing and committing to it, that this one thing is going to help my business. And once I implement it and I make it a routine, and now it's just part of my every week, every day, every month process, now what's the next thing that I want to implement? And by the way, the next thing you may want to implement, if you want to tune into this show every week or anybody else's show every week and get all this information, bullet point a list. And then when we hang up or at the end of the night, prioritize that list. You prioritize it. Well, what is it that I want to implement first, second, third, fourth? Then if you listen next week and you add to the list, be disciplined enough to look at your whole list again and say, well, I've already committed to this. I said I wanted to implement this first. And I said I wanted to implement this second, but I got another great idea this week from the show, and I want to make this second now. Well, great, but we're still not going to even work on that until I get this done and into a system. And then I'll go to number 2. And eventually you're going to have a list of stuff. Now, here's the other thing that I want to say. This is so important. Before I do, Tass, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I was thinking, and Mr. Blackman said something here about, we went over the other day on the 1% improvement on attrition and how that can affect a business. Depending on your business, anywhere from 20,000 a year to 6 figures a year, just on increasing your retention or decreasing your attrition by 1%. And Mr. Blackman's been around for a long time. And that may have just been when the student is ready, the teacher will appear, because he knows that and he's seen that before. But I know this year's been just like everybody's been tough on him. And so when you figure out those numbers and figure out what you're losing in revenue, it's like, dang, man, that 1% is a huge number. And so sometimes I think, when we have the numbers, I think the hardest thing for people to understand, and it's not sexy, guys, but I hate, let me put it this way. I hate collecting data. Hate it. I love analyzing data. So if someone does the data, if you're not a data collector and you don't want to do it, then assign one of your team members every night to send you your numbers, and then you can just analyze the data. So then sometimes I think, well, geez, if you're tracking your data, because the number one thing most people don't do is track their data, number one. Number two, if they track their data, my thought process always is, well, it's pretty easy for you to see where the problems are, right? So if you're tracking data, for example, we'll just use traffic stats. Well, I had this many leads, I had this many appointments, this many show, this many enroll. Well, if I know that I had 20 leads and I had 18 show and I had, 15 of them enroll, well, geez, those are great numbers. But if I know that I had, 20 leads and I had 5 people show and 4 people enroll, I'm going fast, but I don't have an enrollment problem. I have a show problem. Is that a confirmation call? What's happening? I can kind of dive in and figure out what it is I need to fix. But as I'm thinking through this, even with your numbers in place, and Metz, you have a fancy car, and I, you know, in my truck even, there are things on the dashboard that I know what they mean. But there are other things that the car can give me the data. I have no idea what that means. And so if you don't know how to analyze the data, then you should get help in being able to figure that out, because it's so important on knowing where you're going to go. And maybe what's happening is you're looking at one number, and Metz basically said this before, you're looking at one thing, but really your focus is going to be over here. And this is why every year we do the audit. We figure out where's the attrition, where's the student value, where the enrollment's coming from. Because for each school, that your focus could be something different based on where you specifically need help. So as we spew out the rhetoric and say, hey, we're not about, you know, preservation right now. We're about growing. We're going to grow, and we're going to go get more students. Well, if you're in a school that you have a 6, 7, 8, 9, 10% attrition rate, you can go get as many as you want to, and they're going to fall right out the back door. That shouldn't be your focus right now. Is growing. Your focus still needs to be on preservation of your existing student base, so that you can grow your school. And I think it's important, you know, just I always think, because I've been doing this, and this is, I'm careful how I say this, but because I've been doing this and hearing this from so many people, like, well, everybody must know that. Everybody must understand this. I mean, it's not difficult, but when you're not in it every day and analyzing those numbers every single day, sometimes you don't know which numbers to analyze and what things to look for. So if you need help with that, just reach out and let us know, and we'll kind of point you guys in the right direction based off. But you got to have your numbers for us to help. Otherwise, we can't help you either, right? I mean, that's the thing.
And by the way, if you don't have your numbers because you don't know how to keep track of your numbers, and here's the other thing, Tass, we learned this. By the way, let me just answer Mr. Kevin's question here. Virtual is obviously not going away. Are you guys focusing more this year on growing your virtual platform, or more focused on in-person learning? We in Florida, we are putting more of our focus on in-person learning, because we are allowed to, and we know that's the better way to teach. However, I agree. I don't know if virtual is going away. And it just depends. Are you forced to focus on that area because of the world we live in? And if you want to run your school and you want to focus on virtual, I think that's okay too. At the end of the day, in martial arts training, I don't think anyone can debate it. If I said, well, if you're going to learn martial arts, what's better, learning virtually through a screen or learning in person? I think that's not even a question. I think all of you would agree it's better to learn in person. However, you can argue that on the business side of things, you can reach a higher number of people virtually, and there is value to doing that. And if we're forced to do that, I think it's a great maintenance plan. Because it's a temporary deal as far as taking someone from white to black belt. Can you take somebody from white belt to intermediate virtually at a high level? Probably, maybe beginners, white belts, yellow belts, where if that became your starter program, maybe, in the future to reach more masses or however, but we're focused more on in-person. And on that note, I want to just tell everybody that's watching right now, next week on our show, my good friend, and I had over an hour talk with him the other night, and I love this guy to death. I mean, I looked up to him as a kid, and I think all of you in the industry probably looked up to him as well. But we're going to have Ernie Reyes Jr. on the show next week, and he's doing a virtual thing right now too. And we're going to talk to Ernie, and I'm sure he'll give us some encouraging, inspiring messages, because first of all, not only do I love the guy for who he is, and he's been just a great person, but also one of the best martial artists I've ever seen. And also, when I was a kid, watching him on Sidekicks or The Last Electric Night, if you remember the Disney movie, and then of course the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Surf Ninjas, and your Kansas line there, Tass, that he was with The Rock. I mean, just a great person. I love him. So he's going to be on next week, so you should definitely tune in. But let me say this too. If you're looking at getting new students, and regardless now, pay attention and don't take this out of context. Regardless if you have a retention issue or not, we still need fuel we still need new students. So you got to go after the low-hanging fruit regardless, which is the easy, low-hanging fruit, no expense, easy people to get back. And I talked about this on the elite thing, and Mr. Halama, here you go, after the last meeting, because that was on our big elite call this week, I started calling every student that we haven't seen in a week or so and got them all back, right? So now we're into 2021. Anybody that you lost, not just in the last week or so, right? But during COVID, anybody that you lost last year, any students that quit, this is the time to call them up, wish them a happy new year, ask them how they're doing, tell them we'd love to see them back either in class or on virtual training, because we know this is temporary now. We know we're making progress. Yes, cases are high right now, right? Because I think some people let their guard down knowing the vaccine is out there and cases are spread. However, the vaccine is getting out there. Things will start to get a little bit better and better and better. But reach out to all your old students and just tell them you'd love to see them back and get them back in. And if they stopped in the middle of an agreement, let's say, we have the whole debate on contracts or no contracts. We're not taking people to collections. We're not doing any of that stuff. And we will forgive any balances they had. It's just about getting people back in, because people who have quit, there are some people that quit and use that as an excuse. And there are some people who really quit just because they weren't comfortable and they didn't know where the world was going. So if you do that, you will get people back.
And Mets, I think that's a huge deal. I mean, you remember Blockbuster Video? I think there's still some in Canada. But Blockbuster Video years and years ago, the video stores, one of the ways they make all their money, obviously, is on
Silverman's here.
Oh, hey. They make their money, right?
No, not that one.
Then they went through the cycle where they forgave the late fees, and the stores flooded again with people renting videos. And I think it's important for you guys to understand that it was a small piece he just gave you, but I know as an instructor, and I know as someone in the school, when even making miss you calls, there's people that you will handpick and you will miss you calls to, because they're just out for a week or two and you've got a good relationship with them and they're going to come back. There's other people that stopped paying maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 months ago, and you're not going to call them back because sometimes you don't know what to say to them. Like you don't even know how to broach the conversation. So that's a huge point. And I think, if you're looking back at people who stopped paying last year and stopped showing, right? Typically, if they stop paying, they stop staying, right? So go back to those people, wish them a happy new year, say, hey, I just want to connect with you, touch base. And like you said, would love to see you guys come back in. And by the way, hey, whatever balance you guys had, we're going to forgive it. We're going to move forward from this point forward. It was a rough year, and we just want to do that as our way of, saying thank you and hoping to get you guys back in. When can we get you guys back in? And make those phone calls, and you're going to be surprised as to how many of those people will re-engage and you'll reactivate and get them back in your school. But fear always, right, is overcome by taking action. And so if you only call the people that you know and that are the good students and the good relationship people, you're only going to get a small percentage of those people back. You've got to call everybody and make that same offer to everybody, and then watch what happens. You're going to get people back that you never thought you'd get back before by doing that.
All right. So let me share this. Everybody get your pen and paper out, because this is a good question here from Mr. Bolton as far as what type of items to focus on first. Let me just tell you the first thing you got to do. Everybody's got to do this. And Tass, this is going to be new for you, because I just went over this with somebody this morning, because you cannot go anywhere in your business unless you know where it is you want to go. So you have to set goals. And you hear this all the time. You have to set goals, right? But not everyone knows how to set goals. So the thing that I went over with somebody this morning is they said, look, I said, have you set a goal for the year? They said, yes. I said, all right, now we need to set a goal for the first quarter of 2021. Now, what do we typically want to do every year? Well, you want to try to beat what you did last year, right? Well, if you take the first quarter of 2021 and you look at the first quarter of 2020, the majority of you are not going to be able to beat it, because we're still in this COVID pandemic. Some of you are still shut down. And the first quarter of last year, you were not shut down until towards the end of the first quarter. Okay. So how do we set a realistic goal? By the way, setting a goal isn't just pulling a number out of the air, guys. That's not how you set a goal. So here's the routine. Here's the exercise. Here's what you need to do. You need to take the fourth quarter of the fourth quarter of 2019, okay, which is October, November, and December of 2019. And you need to look at the fourth quarter of 2020, October, November, and December of 2020. Now, to make this easy for you, let's just say that in 2019, the fourth quarter, your business did $100,000 in the fourth quarter, total, 100 grand. And in 2020, you did $80,000. That means from the fourth quarter of 19 to the fourth quarter of 2020, you were down 20%. Everybody follow me on that? I'm going to use UTAS as my guide. Or you could put a thumbs up like everyone on these webinars say, give me a thumbs up, or, give me a fist or whatever. Yeah, give me some kind of sign that you understand that. But I'm going to use TAS as my guide here. So here's the deal. So we're down 20% going into 2021. Now what I want to do is I want to look at what did I do in the first quarter of 2020. What did I do dollar-wise? And let's just pretend we did 100 grand in the first quarter of 2020. You may set yourself up for failure if you say, I want to do 100 grand or I want to beat that in the first quarter. So what you do is you say, well, look, I came into 2021 already 20% down. So my baseline is 80,000 in the first quarter. I got to beat $80,000, 20% down. I got to beat that in the first quarter. Now, how much do I want to try to beat that by? And that's going to give you a better, more fair gauge on what you need to do in the first quarter. Now, here's the great news for everybody. So listen, here's the motivator for all of you. Figure out what you need to do in the first quarter. Set your goal. Then you got to break it down and you got to attack it, right? But your second quarter of 2021 should crush your first quarter, your second quarter of 2020. Because we went into the second quarter of 2020 where like the entire world, including Florida, was shut down for a period of time. And there was panic. Nobody knew where this was going. No one knew how to handle it. There was no vaccine in sight, right? Well, we've been living with this for a while now, right? So we should absolutely be able to beat second quarter 2021. We should absolutely be able to beat 2020 second quarter. And that's the good news. And by the way, we do that in the third and we crush it and kill it in the fourth. And this is why I believe a lot of us can have a record year. And I don't mean just beating it. I mean a record year because I also see pandemic fatigue in this country too. I mean, look, why are cases spiking? Because by nature, Americans are just tired of it. And they're like, you know what? I just got to get my life back. And they're going out there and they're being careless or they're being reckless or they're being whatever. But people just want to have their life back. Once, the world or the health organization, the World Health Organization or the CDC or the government or the country or your state or whoever says, look, we got enough vaccines out there. We want you to be careful, but no more restrictions, no more lockdowns. You're good. There is going to be a flood of people that were still a little nervous and skeptical that just want some guidance, that's going to want to jump in and start doing things again. And you got to be ready on your marketing front to take advantage of that. And it's already happening, by the way. It's happening, and it's happening in pockets of the country in certain states, depending on how your states are handling it. I know just yesterday I was with our marketing department. I went over to our World Training Center. So we're in an office here, but down the road, about 4 miles, we have our World Training headquarters and offices. And that's where our social media marketing team is. And Shelby happens to lead that, and she's on here. But I asked them, how's January looking with, leads coming in and interest? They said it's popping now. I mean, we're getting an explosion comparatively of what we were getting, ending the fourth quarter. So you're going to see this, guys, but you need a target, because if you don't have a target, how do you know if you're doing well? How do you know if you are doing well? And by the way, if you're doing 50,000 a month, you may feel like you're doing well. If you're doing 100,000 a month in your school, you may feel like you're doing well, but you're not. If you could be doing 150,000, you're not, right? And that's the reality of it too. And you never want to be okay. You never want to be good. I'm good. You never want to be that. As a business owner, you should never want to be that, right? Go ahead, Tass. Any?
Yeah, I'm going to play devil's advocate for a second, because I think that's a great way. If you guys have those numbers, go back and look at that, and it'll give you a good starting point, right? But again, knowing your numbers is crucial. And Metz, you and I had this conversation the other day. In the first quarter of 2020, when things were fine, we enrolled 4 students in the first quarter of 2020. Well, why is that? So we weren't focused on it. It wasn't a thing. And for whatever the reason was, but I know personally, right, that those are horrible numbers. And so I'm using the example of enrollments, not gross revenue. But if I look back and say, well, can I enroll more than 4 students even when we're at the tail end of a pandemic? And the answer is 100% yes. So if I'm listening to this, what I don't want to do is I don't want to walk away from this and go, okay, good. I can go do 20% less than I did, last year during that time, because you know yourself and you know your business. If you weren't on top of it and you weren't pushing and you weren't driving and you were coasting and you weren't doing your best, then don't settle for the 20%. By the way, that's a gauge. There are some people in 2020 that had record years in the middle of a pandemic, right? So use the information. If you're like lost and don't know where to start, then that's great information for you guys to use. But if you know your numbers and know where you're at and you're honest with yourself, then go do what you think what you know you should do, right? And for me, we just weren't on top of it for the first quarter of last year, especially on the enrollment side. The revenue side, my one school wasn't. So that's why it's so important to know your numbers and know your business, team. I mean, I keep coming back to that.
Tass, when is net revenue your gross revenue?
When is net revenue
your gross revenue?
It's always your gross revenue. It's just a portion of your gross revenue.
When your last name is Gross.
Oh, there it is. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. That's great.
I should have known that. Mr. Gross. That's his good one-liner. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, thoughts on students that stopped paying but still showed for a few months? Great. Just get them paying again. I mean, you don't work for free. I mean, unless they're a scholarship, and some of you can take that as you want, I mean, first of all, how long do you let people still keep showing up without paying? I mean, how many times can I go to a restaurant and eat for free before they want me to start paying for my meals again? I mean,
until you get caught.
That's right. So I wouldn't let that go on for a long time, because I would have a talk with my student. And if they're in a hardship, I would offer them a scholarship. Because I don't think it's fair to all of your other students who are coming to class and paying. I don't think it's fair to them if we just allow other people to come to class and not pay, unless they can show a specific hardship, and I won't turn any student away. And I want to be clear with that, because everyone just makes this, not everyone, but people in the industry make assumptions. When you're Tass, you just said it on a meeting or something. Didn't you say you were one of those guys that any school you saw making a lot of money, you just automatically assumed they were a McDojo?
Yeah, I did, and you're right. I just brought that up. We do so many of these things. I don't know which meeting it was, but
yeah, I don't either, because it was recently.
It was prior to me being an elite client. Because we're sitting probably around 150, 160 students, and we were grossing like 16 grand a month or something. And I'm like, how can you have 300 students doing $50,000 a month? You obviously are just giving stuff away. And what I realized later, right? Obviously later was the more students you have, the more revenue you do, the more organized, the more systems, the tighter things actually are. And that was a big misconception of mine, and I fully admitted it. That's because why? Because of what we do. We don't come on here and tell people, like, you know, when we talk about the reason people say McDojo and everything else is because it's an excuse, it's to justify and whatever. That is what the reason was. I was justifying because I couldn't break through and get to the other side. And when you finally break through and get to the other side, and you realize, damn, there is more revenue, there is more stuff, but I had to be a lot more organized, and my systems had to be tighter, and I had to implement and execute what it was that I learned, because, you know, knowledge isn't power, right? The application of knowledge is power. And so I've been on both sides of a team. It's not like I woke up or I was born into a family of martial art grandmasters, and they said, here, son, take over the school, and the school was doing X amount of dollars. I built the school from the ground up. I mean, my first school I started was when I was in college. I started a Taekwondo club, and I had 25 people show up the first day, and that was when I didn't know how to teach. And we started off with like 50 knuckle push-ups and did them every 15 minutes in class. Class was an hour and a half, and the next week I had like 4 people show back up, right? So we learn as we go through all this stuff, whether that's instructor tips or it's, you know, about our numbers, growing our school. And so I've been there. Metz has been there. He's, you know, teaching classes for $4 a class. We've been there. And him and I had a conversation yesterday. And I said, dude, I remember exactly where I was standing when I was in my office. And we were talking, and this is when we were doing $55,000 a month in our school. And you're like, the wave's not going to last forever. You just got to be prepared. And we just had this conversation a day or two ago. And this was 7-8 years ago. And of course, with this last year and things that have happened and building teams and open, you know, multiple locations, things start happening. And so it's hard to maintain that level, right? Not that we can't do it, but things happen. And I was on a constant trajectory of going up, 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 up. And what Metzger's point was put away for a rainy day, because this won't last forever, and you want to be prepared for that. Well, look what happens. And he asked me the question. He said, well, did you believe me when I said that? And I said, no, I really didn't. There was a portion of me that did, 10, 15% of me that believed that and understood that. But the ego in me at the time, because we were doing so well, didn't want to listen to that, right? And he's like, you know, the only reason I could tell you that is because of experience. We've been through it. We've been through riding the highs and then seeing the lows and then coming back and making the comeback. So a lot of the things that are on here, you know, I'm probably, you know, if you don't know a whole lot about me and my story, I mean, listen, I was the guy who tried everything, every consultant, everybody, you name it, I did it, and I put it in my school. But when I was younger, in my 20s, I had a concept and a mentality of, I'm going to do everything that I can. I was big into listening to self-development stuff, and I wanted to fail more. And if you don't understand the self-development side, that doesn't make sense to you. But I wanted to fail more often so that I could get to where I wanted to go faster. So I was willing to do and try everything. And so when we say, listen, we've experienced it all between Metz and I, we probably have experienced or seen or heard with all the clients that we have, anything that you could possibly think of. I mean, on occasion, something comes up, we're like, dang, I never heard that before. But most everything that you're ever going to encounter or you're going to see or do in your school, we've been there. And so it's not teaching out of theory. It's out of experience that either he has had, I've had, or our clients have had, and that we've coached them through. So just keep that in mind.
And you know, the biggest thing I will say in the industry, and I'll test everyone on here, and we won't keep you much longer, because this is a kickoff to 2021, and I think it's about, you know, the title of the show is What Now? And I think it's about understanding how to set your target and your goal, and recognizing, don't be an information junkie. Make sure you commit and implement a system before you try to listen to every single thing and we'll get every idea. It'd be impossible. But the thing is with the experience, I'll tell you, in this industry, the biggest problem is we all do not speak the same language. And you guys, when I say you guys, I mean the industry as a majority, not everybody, but as a majority. If I talk about contracts, people that just say contracts don't work, they're bad, they're this, they're that. It's just because your definition of contract and how you perceive a contract is different than mine. And if I say upgrades, you should have upgrades. Well, you learned what an upgrade is from whoever you learned it from. And I promise you it's going to be different than what I define an upgrade as and what an upgrade is. And that's what separates this industry. You get your own thought based on the word, but the word means something different in my language than it does in yours. And if 2021 is the year that you want to take it to the next level, I don't know about any other consultants. I know there's good ones out there, and I know there's bad ones out there. The only thing I know 100% is we can help you. I know we can help you. And by the way, we're not looking anymore. There was a time where Maya only offered an elite program, right? We're not looking for that. We came up with this a couple months ago, and it starts later this month. If you're interested, just call Maya, send us a message. But I said we got to come up with a program called Maya Foundations. Now, here's an example. Maya Foundations has been around for a couple of years, but Maya Foundations is not what Maya Foundations was. Maya Growth is now what Maya Foundations was, because I said Maya Foundations needs to be just the foundation of your business. It needs to be a 2-month program, just 2 months, 4 Zoom calls, 4. And we got to cover these 4 topics. That's it. And after 2 months, they can go and start doing their own thing and build on this foundation that we've set for them. If we just wanted to collect your money, why would Maya create a program that's only 2 months? Now, after the 2 months, if you feel that there was a tremendous value there that's going to help your school grow and you want to go up to Maya Growth, you can go up to Maya Growth if you want. But Maya Foundations is 2 months long. And not only that, I told Maya this. I said, look, when people pay for Maya Foundations, the 2-month program, once they pay for it for the 2 months, if they want to repeat it again because they need to hear it again and again, they can do it for free. They can take the course again for free. Just so we make sure that we teach you how to have a solid foundation to build upon. And there are 4 key things, by the way.
I know.
It's subconscious.
I know. I know. What happened when Metzger was 4, because everything's in force. And by the way, did you notice when he compared 2019 and 2020, and then this quarter and that quarter, there was 4 of those? I mean, everything's in force.
It's crazy. Yeah. I'm going to have to dive into that. Maybe I do go to a psychologist and figure that out, man.
Yeah, could be.
But anyway, there's 4 steps.
I was going to say you only need 4 sessions for the psychiatrist.
Right. Won't be bad. Anyway, 4 phone calls and 4 systems and the Maya Foundations. And, we could put look, if Tass and I were real people that wanted the purpose of the show was to sell you, we'd always have a link ready to go. And anytime when you see a link, it's because my social media director's watching or Chris Rodriguez is watching, and they throw up the link where you can get information on Maya Foundations. But I don't have a link. I don't even know the website, to be honest with you. And now I'm going to get a phone call and get yelled at.
If he opens up his big phone, it might be in there.
But anyway, guys, if you're looking to take 2021 to the next level, find people that can help you do it faster. I mean, that's just business. That's smart business. And if you hear that we're going to talk about upgrades, again, as an example, just know that your definition may be completely different than ours. And if you're a school that says, I do upgrades, well, Tass, you said it earlier, we work with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of schools between the both of us. Hundreds. I haven't met anybody. Have you ever met any client that has done an upgrade program the way we do it, Tass?
Well, as far as no.
No, right? Not the way we systemize it and the way we do it, right?
No. It's
right.
Close. Listen, I've said this to you in the past. Some of you guys hear this stuff, and we always say you guys like we're talking to you. The people that aren't watching, some of you hear things, and you're like, "Oh, I do that," and you think you do it, but you're missing the last like 10%. You're missing the key points, and that is what generated more revenue for me in my business than ever, is understanding the small, and we hear it and it sounds so cliche, small hinges swing big doors, small, details equal big results, however you want to say it. But there's truth. There's so much truth in it. I mean, and the answer is no. I mean, I was doing upgrades very similarly, right? But didn't understand the last 10, 15% of it, and it revolutionized what we did.
So that's it. And I'm reading. So I'm reading. Yeah. Hold on. So hey, by the way, and for those of you who want, we're opening up our elite conference here in February
19, 18, 19, something.
Yeah. February 19th and 20th here in Orlando, Florida. If anyone wants to come to the event, it's $299 to be a guest, $299 to come to the elite seminar. And we're going to have an instructor training that includes an instructor training with Roland Osborne after the seminar. So it's Friday, Saturday. We end 1 o'clock Saturday. At 2 o'clock to 6 o'clock, we're doing an instructor certification. Roland Osborne's going to hold that, just to better yourself, give you some ideas on that. But you get 2 days of the elite event. My point is look, you can come to that. You can try foundations, or you can just tune in every week. But here's a first. Had a kid take an intro. Parents never showed up. The kid shows up and wants to train. Parents refuse to sign up. Can't afford it. Throw his uniform out. Then he stole a uniform out of our pro shop to attend classes.
Scholarship, that kid, man.
That's the thing. I mean, if this kid is that diehard on taking martial arts, I'd sit him down and say, hey, you never have to steal anything again, because sometimes there's power in asking. And by the dedication and the commitment and the determination you have to want to take martial arts, I'm going to let you take martial arts. We're going to do a scholarship program. If the kid's under 18, I'd want to meet with his parents first. I'd want to see, where's this kid coming from, and will the parents be willing to fill out our scholarship form? And I'd let the parents know that, look, we can really help your child, but we got to work together on this, And if he steals from me again, I'm going to knock him out. No, I wouldn't say that.
Hey, that'd be a great show, man. Something about your give us your best or worst, whatever, experience in your school. That would be fun. That would just be a fun, entertaining show.
Yeah, maybe we'll do that. That is a good show.
Yeah.
And thank you, Eddie. How are you, my friend? Internal Power back in the day. And then, by the way, look, we do have a link just to join the show, I guess. Don't forget to join the event for next week to see Ernie Reyes Jr. So
I would do that so you guys get reminders, right? And so it pops up for you so you can see it live.
Oh, I thought we wanted them to do that so we can get their credit card numbers.
Yes, that too.
Okay. All right. So sign up for that. It's free, guys. And no, we're not getting your credit card numbers. And don't reinvent the systems, Mr. Blackman. Yeah, Miss Julie said, knock them out 4 times. Very good. And look, I would like to see the show, the scholarship for me, if I could. I would like to see. I told you we don't speak the same language, guys.
Yeah. No, it's
the spell check or something. So
put Master Bolton's up there. Well, I don't know, Metz. If you haven't watched season 3 yet, you don't know this.
No, I don't. So I didn't watch season 3 yet.
Season 3 of Cobra Kai, then you wouldn't know.
I will. I will do that within the week. I will do that. I once chased a kid 4 blocks barefooted. He was on a skateboard.
Yeah. See, this
hey, guys,
would be a good show, man.
He stole a weapon. Well, sir, you got to tell us, did you catch him? I mean, you chased him. By the way, how many blocks?
Yeah. And 4. Yeah.
That's about how far I would go.
Oh, man. That's funny.
Scholarship form to see. Yeah. Do you work with Mr. Halama, Tass?
No, Kling does. But he can. Kling has it. I have it. whoever you just reach out, we'll get it to you.
All right. Hey, whew, welcome to 2021, everybody.
And by the way, if you're a New Year's resolution person, stop that stuff. I mean, you can have New Year's resolutions, right? But listen, at the end of the day, coming into the new year, if you're going to eat better or whatever you're going to do, your school, your business, your whatever. If you didn't get off to on the right foot that you want, it's never too late. I mean, the thing is as business and entrepreneurs, we know we have resolutions every day, right? So it doesn't take January 1 to flip for us to start. And sometimes what happens is I know that we get off on the wrong foot and we're a week or 2 weeks or 6 weeks or 6 months into the year. And we're like, well, I didn't start, so I'm not going to do it now. I'm going to wait. And then we wait. And then it's the diet syndrome. Well, I'm going to start on Monday. Well, I'm going to start on Monday. I'm going to start on Monday. And then pretty soon the year goes by. Just get started. Take action. Get started. Do something, and you'll be good. Were you the guy in Wisconsin that had some guy stealing from your office, chasing down and held it? No, that wasn't me. That wasn't me.
All right. Last thing here. I'm just starting my school, infant stages. And I see the beginning of this year as the tide drawing into the sea, getting ready for a tidal wave to hit once COVID restrictions are lessened. Am I looking at the situation correct, or am I missing something? So let me be honest with you on this. Running a martial arts school is tough. Put it this way. It's not tough if this is your hobby or your side career. It's not tough.
It's side hustle. They call it side hustle these days, Metz.
Side hustle. Excuse me. But if this is something where step one is I got to support myself and my family with this career. Step two is I want to provide for future people. I want to send my kid to the best college. I want to really do well with this. The martial arts business at any time is tough if we really don't understand what we are doing. You're not looking at this wrong. I think for the schools that have gone through COVID and developed habits to survive through COVID, with the experience of keeping students and trying to recruit through COVID, I think they're going to find that it's going to be much easier for them with the habits that they developed. If you know how to do this and how to open a school, you are not wrong in thinking, I agree with you. I think that you're going to see a tidal wave. However, you can't just say, man, I can't wait till all the restrictions are done and I'm going to sit back in my school and people are going to start calling, walking in. It's not going to happen. You got to know how to market. You got to know how to do internal marketing, external marketing. You got to know what paid marketing is as opposed to sweat equity marketing. You got to know how to do prospect events. You know, if your budget is tight, to where you can market to a lot of people by having them come to you as opposed to you going out to the community to get them. So you just got to have all that stuff planned, and I would be definitely working on that. And yes, there's going to be people there for the taking that are going to want to do something. So that's the answer. But yes, I think there's going to be a lot of people wanting to be doing something. You just want to be that something that they do. Okay. Any final words there, Smirky?
I'm smiling because I feel like I'm on the podium at the Grammys and they're starting to play the music because I just see they posted, thanks everyone for joining today. If you have any questions, put them on for the Mets Tassoul show, put them out there. Like, I think they're trying to get us to be done, I think is what the deal is.
Yeah, that's our cue, everybody. That's our cue.
But to Shane Weave or anybody else, I see gives me a lot of lots to work on. Ontario, Canada's locked down for January. Here's what I've been telling people. If you're in lockdown stage, seriously, this is not a sales pitch. There's no time better to focus on all of your systems. So when you do open, you can crush it. And that's what you need to be taking advantage of right now. So don't think about the things you can't control. Worry about the things that you can control. And if you've got the time right now because you're on lockdown, then I would be working on building those business systems up and being ready for when you open, because continue to get ready never happens. So that's my 2 cents on that.
And you're right there, sir. So listen, everyone, have an awesome week. Next week, Ernie Reyes Jr., click the link in the comments here just so you get reminders so you don't miss it. If you're an Ernie Reyes Jr. fan or just a Shane Tassoul fan, make sure you're there next Thursday. So We'll see everyone next week, and go execute the plan, and we will have a great 2021.
Appreciate everybody.
Bye, everybody.
All right. See you, Mets. Thanks, guys.
Take care.